Have you ever heard Carl Jung's striking reminder? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate? Welcome, everyone. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts, because today we're plunging into one of Jung's most captivating ideas, the shadow. Have you ever found yourself faking confidence, standing tall with forced bravado, only to feel a gnawing emptiness inside? Maybe you're that person who cracks jokes and acts unbothered, yet you sense a trembling child within, desperately afraid of being exposed. We're about to explore the real reason behind that possible facade and why your hidden shadow might be steering the show. Society often praises fake it till you make it, but could we be missing a deeper truth lurking beneath our polished smiles? Is the part of us that we fear, our insecurities and hidden desires, actually dictating these scripted performances? Think of the last time you feigned a calm, "I'm totally cool with this" attitude, even though you felt anything but. That tension between your outward projection and your internal reality can be an invitation to take a closer look. Today, let's venture into the metaphorical dark room within ourselves. Switch on the light and see what's really there. Do we dare? Or do we keep ignoring it because the unknown feels too risky? This conversation could challenge everything you believe about self-confidence. By the end, you might question whether the strong front you've been trying to maintain is actually rooted in authentic strength or in fear of your own shadow. If you've ever wondered why you can't shake that nagging sense of inadequacy, stay with me. We're going to peel back the layers and ask, is your shadow the real reason you fake confidence? Let's start by unraveling what Carl Jung meant by the shadow. In the simplest sense, Jung saw the psyche as composed of multiple components, including the ego, your conscious sense of self, and the persona, the mask you show the world. The shadow is the part you typically keep hidden or repressed. Impulses, traits, and emotions you consider unacceptable or embarrassing. The moment you decide certain qualities are bad, you shove them into your mental attic and nail the door shut. But the fascinating twist is that the more you deny what's in there, the more those rejected parts shape your life from behind the scenes. Imagine the shadow as a puppet master lurking backstage. On the surface, you might appear confident, humble, or easygoing, but behind the curtain, there's another version of you pulling strings in subtle, unexpected ways. You say, "I don't mind being overlooked at work," but deep down you feel a rage that no one recognizes your contributions. Or you insist, "I'm always calm in relationships," yet you sabotage every time someone gets too close, driven by a fear of abandonment stored in your hidden self. That puppet master is your unacknowledged aspect, your shadow, guiding your hand even as you smile for the crowd. Many people confuse the shadow with something purely negative. It's not exclusively bad. It's simply everything you haven't consciously claimed. You might bury your fiery passions because you're taught to be polite, or you might repress your vulnerability because you believe you must be strong at all costs. Some individuals even hide talents and strengths if they fear these gifts will provoke jealousy or make them stand out. So the shadow is a wide range of traits, from aggression to creativity, envy to tenderness, arrogance to brilliance, anything we deem unfit for public display. If it stays locked away, it doesn't just vanish. It influences your behaviors, especially when you try to present the opposite to the world. Picture trying to hold a balloon underwater. The more force you apply, the stronger it pops up. That's precisely how unacknowledged parts of you behave. They pop up in dreams, moments of stress, or through sudden outbursts you can't rationally explain. Sometimes it feels like you become someone else, that someone else is your shadow seizing the stage. Now let's bring in a second idea, Jung's notion of the persona. Think of the persona as a polished mirror you hold up to others, reflecting the qualities you believe will help you blend in or succeed. In day-to-day life, the persona can be helpful. A certain level of social polish or professional composure is healthy. But when your persona grows too rigid or inflated, you start over-identifying with it. You say, "I am the confident achiever," or "I am the nice peacemaker," believing that this outward identity is all of who you are. Over time, you forget about the complexities beneath. It's as if you're living in a staged performance 24/7, Outwardly, you might garner admiration and even success. Inwardly, though, a quiet storm brews. Everything you repress, anger, fear, neediness, hasn't disappeared. It's simmering in the basement of your psyche. So your forced confidence might actually be the persona's protective shield against an entire cast of insecurities you'd rather not face. A third supporting concept is repression, which is the mechanism by which your mind pushes unwanted material into the unconscious. Picture an old trunk in your attic labeled "Do Not Open." You keep shoving more items into it because you don't want them lying around in plain sight. Over time, that trunk bulges and the lock strains. If one day it bursts open, you'd have quite a mess on your hands. That's what can happen psychologically. You might find yourself suddenly lashing out at a friend, breaking down in tears over something minor, or impulsively making decisions that contradict your best interests. It feels like an internal rebellion. Sometimes that rebellion surfaces as a need to constantly prove you're confident, successful, or unshakable. The irony is that the more we shout, "Look how confident I am," the more we might be overcompensating for the self-doubt we've buried. Think for a moment about how this dynamic might show up in real life. Here's a relatable scenario. You're a new manager at work and you want to establish authority. You talk in a stern tone, keep your face serious, and rarely smile so people will take you seriously. But inside, you dread being found out as inexperienced or unqualified. You spend your energy covering up your anxiety rather than addressing it. Another scenario. You join a social circle and everyone seems effortlessly cool. You start telling exaggerated stories to appear more interesting, terrified that nobody will like you if they see the real you. Or maybe you post glamorous selfies on social media, not because you genuinely love self-expression, but because you crave external reassurance to mask how small you feel. In each case, there is a hidden side, insecurities, fears, yearnings, that remains unacknowledged. Now let's explore a powerful metaphor that can help you visualize the shadow. Think of your psyche as a grand mansion with many rooms. The persona is the beautifully furnished foyer where you welcome guests. The shadow is that locked cellar below, full of dusty antiques, covered furniture, and unexamined artifacts. Whenever company comes over, you keep them in the foyer, showing off your sparkling decor, while the cellar remains off limits. Yet strange noises echo from below. If you never dare to explore that cellar, you'll forever be haunted by the unknown. You might hear rattling chains or glimpses of movement in the darkness, but you won't know what's there. Meanwhile, the guests only see your foyer, and you work hard to keep them from suspecting anything is amiss. That's how an overemphasis on a polished exterior, faking confidence, keeps you from understanding what truly resides within you. The day you decide to descend into the cellar with a flashlight, you might discover valuable heirlooms, not just scary cobwebs. In that sense, the shadow can contain treasure that broadens your range of expression, including boldness, creativity, or emotional depth. But you have to confront the dust in the mess first. How does this help you in practical terms? One real-world example. Suppose you're consistently overshadowed by a coworker who's more outspoken than you. Instead of just sulking or pretending you're unaffected, you might realize that your suppressed desire is to speak up more assertively. Your discomfort is a clue that there's a hidden aspect of your personality crying out to be acknowledged. Another example. You always play the happy-go-lucky friend who never complains, but deep down, there's a well of anger or sadness you've never allowed yourself to express. If you dare to admit those feelings, you might find that they hold crucial messages about your boundaries or your unresolved experiences. A final example might be your constant fear of public speaking. You plaster a smile and say, "I'm totally fine," while inside you feel nauseous. The moment you explore your shadow, you might discover a memory of being ridiculed as a child. That experience left a mark you've never fully processed. Learning to face that memory, even if it feels uncomfortable, can ultimately free you to speak more authentically, because you're no longer dragging that fear around as a hidden anchor. One of the biggest aha moments with shadow work is realizing that what we hate in others often points to something disowned in ourselves. If you catch yourself irritated by someone's arrogance, it might hint that you've buried your own need to assert yourself. If you're triggered by someone who complains too much, perhaps you've shoved your own pain into your unconscious. This doesn't mean you have to like every behavior in others, but it does mean that your emotional reactions can serve as mirrors, revealing areas of your shadow. Another aha arises when you see that your nice or confident veneer is partly a coping mechanism. Suddenly you connect the dots. I act fearless because I can't bear to face my sense of helplessness. That's a profound insight, and it can prompt a self-reflection question. What do I lose by never allowing myself to show weakness? Let's pause for a quick moment. If you find this exploration valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more psychological deep dives. Now let's continue with another reflection point. Who do I become if I no longer hide my perceived flaws behind a brittle mask of confidence? That's a daring question because once you ask it, you might see entire layers of identity you've built to protect yourself. Yet with awareness comes choice, and with choice comes the possibility of transformation. So, how do we work with the shadow in a constructive way? First, recognize when you are over-identifying with a persona. Maybe you cling to, I'm the unbreakable one, or I'm the caretaker. Anytime that label becomes too rigid, you could be leaving out vital parts of yourself. Second, practice noticing your emotional triggers. When do you become disproportionately angry or anxious? Those spikes often signal a shadow element that's surfacing. Third, consider finding a safe space for self-expression, whether it's a journal, therapy, or candid conversations with a trusted friend. If you have a dream that unsettles you, try writing it down. Dreams often portray the shadow in symbolic form. A wild animal attacking you could represent unacknowledged aggression or fear. Jung believed that by engaging with these images through dream work, art, or active imagination, you open a dialogue with your unconscious. This helps you integrate, rather than banish, the energies stored in the shadow. One practical application is to experiment with a simple exercise. Identify one quality in others that consistently irritates you and ask yourself, where does this live in me? You might discover you're not as different from that annoying person as you thought. That realization can be both humbling and empowering because it gives you a direct path to acknowledging your shadow. Another practical tool is to keep a shadow diary. Each time you catch yourself faking confidence, maybe you hear your own voice go a little too loud, or you adopt a swagger that doesn't feel genuine, pause afterward and jot down what you were really feeling in that moment. Were you scared, insecure, hungry for approval? Over time, patterns emerge. You may see that at social gatherings, you always morph into the life of the party, but inside, you're dreading rejection. When you bring those hidden emotions into the light, you can start to develop an authentic way of being confident, rooted not in denial, but in self-awareness. Let's incorporate another metaphor. Picture your shadow as a secret garden behind a locked gate. You're afraid to enter because you've heard rumors of poisonous plants and tangled vines. But once you muster the courage to push open the gate, you realize that, yes, there are thorny branches, but also vibrant flowers you never knew existed. You might even find exotic fruits that enrich your life. The moral? True self-confidence blossoms when you cultivate the hidden garden of your being, thorns and all, rather than denying it exists. This process is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. Owning every facet of who you are, your kindness and your anger, your optimism and your despair, allows you to walk through the world without the frantic need to fake anything. A common question arises. If I stop faking confidence, won't people see me as weak? In reality, people often find genuine vulnerability far more relatable and respectful than false bravado. Think about how drawn we are to public figures or friends who aren't afraid to show they're human. Their authenticity can be magnetic. By gradually integrating your shadow, you actually free up the energy once spent on maintaining a perfect front. That can lead to a more natural poise that doesn't require endless self-conscious effort. Another aha is that acknowledging your shadow might transform your relationships. When your hidden insecurities, resentments, or needs are left unspoken, they can leak out as passive aggression or misplaced blame. For instance, you might snap at a partner for being too demanding when the real problem is that you haven't confronted your own fear of inadequacy. Bringing your shadow to light might help you realize, I'm afraid I won't measure up, so I resent anything that hints I'm falling short. By owning that vulnerability, you open a path for honest communication. Instead of faking confidence or smothering your fear, you say, I'm feeling unsure right now. And that honesty can foster deeper intimacy and empathy. The same principle applies to friendships, family dynamics, and even professional settings. Ultimately, the core transformation possibility is this. Rather than spending your life running from your deeper truths, you learn to integrate them. Integration doesn't mean you condone negative behaviors or indulge every dark impulse. It means you acknowledge that you have the capacity for a full range of emotions and traits. By recognizing and befriending your shadow, you can channel its energies in constructive ways. Perhaps you discover that underneath your over-the-top confidence is a hidden ambition or passion that wants expression. Maybe the anger you bury is actually a life force pushing you to set better boundaries. Maybe your long-repressed tears reveal a depth of compassion you never knew you had. Transformation occurs when your shadow stops being the enemy and starts becoming a teacher. So let's synthesize these insights. The next time you catch yourself faking confidence, speaking too loudly, plastering on a fake smile, or brushing off a failure as no big deal, pause and ask, what part of me am I trying to hide? That question can initiate a dialogue with your deeper self. You might realize you feel small and frightened, and that's okay. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. By acknowledging it, you shift from unconscious reaction to conscious choice. You can decide how to respond, how to communicate, and how to carry yourself in a way that honors the truth of your experience. Over time, those hidden aspects become integrated, and you step into a more genuine version of yourself. Confidence becomes less about performance and more about alignment with who you really are, warts and all. In the end, your shadow need not be a monster lurking in the dark. It can be a misunderstood companion, like an old friend carrying messages from your depths. When you allow it a voice, it may stop undermining you from behind the scenes. Instead, it can become an ally that enriches your life with authenticity. Imagine shedding the burden of constant pretenses. Imagine how your relationships might flourish if people truly saw you, not just your persona. Imagine how freeing it could feel to pursue your goals with a solid sense of self, rather than chasing external validation. That's the promise of integrating your shadow. Of course, it takes courage, patience, and a willingness to face discomfort. But Jung's legacy reminds us that true individuality and true confidence can only emerge when we dare to bring the unconscious into the light. Now let's gather these insights in a concise way. Carl Jung taught that your shadow is made up of all the aspects you hide from yourself in the world. Faking confidence is often an unconscious strategy to avoid confronting that hidden material. Rather than making your insecurities vanish, it can lock them in place. You end up stuck in a cycle of self-doubt masked by bravado. By allowing the hidden parts of your psyche to speak and breathe, you begin an integration process that can free you from the exhausting need to pretend. In short, the journey inward can be far more liberating than the best outward performance. So what can you do moving forward? Start by noticing the gaps between what you project and what you feel. Are you proclaiming yourself totally fine when anxiety churns inside? Are you mocking others who seem weak as a way to conceal your own vulnerabilities? Each time you catch yourself faking it, use it as a cue to pause and reflect. Jot down your feelings. Talk to a trusted friend, counselor, or therapist if possible. If you have the inclination, explore creative outlets, painting, writing, dancing, that can help you bypass the ego's defenses and give form to what's hidden. The goal isn't to become perfect, it's to become real. When you align with your authentic self, you might discover a wellspring of genuine confidence that requires no show. I'd love for you to share your experiences in the comments. Have you ever recognized a moment where you realized you were faking confidence? Did it reveal something deeper you weren't ready to face? Let's create a community that normalizes these conversations. After all, everyone has a shadow. You're not alone in feeling uncertain or insecure. Perhaps by sharing, we can all shine more light on our hidden aspects, and in doing so, find a collective bravery to be real. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so now and be part of future dialogues about Jung, psychology, and the many ways we can grow as human beings. Remember, the real magic happens when we face ourselves without judgment. Your shadow is there, but it isn't your enemy. It might be the key to the authentic confidence you've been seeking all along. So step into your own depths, flip on the light, and invite every part of you to the table, because that's where genuine wholeness thrives.